welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy. Today something a bit special. This is Nyetimber's Tillington single vineyard, the 2014 vintage. It is a Pinot Noir dominant blend. 78% I believe it is Pinot Noir, 22% Chardonnay. A slightly deeper gold colour than something if it just came from Chardonnay. That's slightly less pale than a pure Chardonnay wine. I think there is something like stone fruit there. A little bit hard to pin down. Sort of peachy maybe. And then also some kind of berry fruit. Subtle, slightly dried fruit kind of hints. Primarily I think what I'm getting there is stone fruit. I think peaches, nectarines, apricots, something in that sort of ballpark. The first thing that strikes me is how nicely integrated that is. Whereas other wines, other sparkling wines from England particularly, seem to come at you in waves. First there's this sort of onslaught of zing, and then everything else follows with that. This is all sort of really nicely integrated, nicely packaged together. So more of that stone fruit, fruity character. I'm really thinking of something like peaches now, more than anything. Nice texture to it. Quite a long finish, and that's interesting because it isn't extremely zingy. It doesn't come across initially as zingy, and usually those two things go hand in hand. It feels for me like the acidity is what lingers on the palate more than anything. But I feel like it's more the texture here that I'm still experiencing, even several sentences of babble after that last gulp. There is a nice bit of mineral character. I don't know that I immediately get a sense of something that is 10 years old, and that's not necessarily a criticism. It's all quite sort of lively and fresh still, and that is one of the interesting things about English sparkling. They do seem to age remarkably well, and I think that's partly a hallmark of being very acidic. If you want something that's going to be suitable for aging, you want something that has bold acidity, because that is something that falls away as the wine matures. Patisserie, bakery, sweet sort of a note there. Moving towards something like a peach tart, but all very light and delicate and fresh. As a house style, something I think Nyetimber always do really well is a sense of luxury. That sounds kind of hand-wavy and nonsensical, but things like refined fruit, rich buttery sort of notes, those pastry notes. Fine patisserie is one of the hallmarks of their classic cuvee to me, is posh lemon pastry. This is, I suppose, like that, but with the fruit character translated more away from what you get from predominantly Chardonnay blend, which would be more lemony and appley, to something more, perhaps a hint of berries and stone fruits. The classic cuvee from Nyetimber is normally about 60% Chardonnay. It varies from blend to blend. It's an NV or an MV, multi-vintage as they call it, but you know, it changes sort of year on year, the exact blend. But it's typically Chardonnay dominant, 60-ish% Chardonnay and 40-something% the Pinots. I think this is really interesting. It's pretty pricey, as I said, but it's really interesting because you get something of that same style, that sort of luxurious pastry, some sort of tart. But as I say, the lemons and or apples have been taken away and replaced with something like peaches, I think. Apricots, perhaps apricots, apricot tart. And to me that does give it an even more luxurious feel than something like lemon or apple-based pastries. Whether it's worth the crazy markup. If you're a bit of a ESW nerd like I am, then I think it's really interesting. Probably just one for the nerds, I think. Cheers. Found a different spot to sit so I can enjoy at least a bit of the sunset. Not a great place to watch it, but as I said in a previous video, if I go to the proper viewing place, Parliament Hill, it's just going to be a throng of people, and I don't really want that.